Hello everybody, welcome to a new Banter Blitz session. I've barely recovered from the 72-hour Banterton thingy we've done, so why not play a nice 90 minutes at a normal time, 4 p.m. in lovely Hamburg summer. I don't trust Hamburg summer, normally we get like 2 good weeks, early June, and then it starts going back to the usual 5 degrees, rainy thingy, but we've learned to enjoy it while it lasts. Speaking of enjoying while it lasts, I can't make that segue work. I'll just start playing. Who do we have? Do we have any challenges? We have some challenges. Lovely. Let's start. You know the rules. Challenge me to a game of 5 minutes or 3 minutes if you happen to be a Chess24 premium member. If you are not a premium member, become one. It's a good investment. And we are playing against Elo Kraller, which means something like Elo Grabber. And the position is symmetrical, but it's his move, and he can use that move to generate a bit of initiative with the move c2 to c4. I will try to maintain the center intact by going e6. He takes on d5. It's a little early for that, because it gives my bishop a clear route to the f5 square. The line I normally play here is bishop e7, e3, bishop f5, which is very solid. But why not be a little more ambitious against Mr. Elo Kraller and put the bishop out there immediately? The problem with this is supposed to be the move queen b3. Then there's some sharp lines with g5, where as far as I know, black is doing quite alright. While now, I'll admit this is not the most exciting position ever played in the world of chess, but black is comfortably equal. Because with the light square bishops gone, there is not much that white can claim. a3 is a typical start to the good old minority attack with b4. But black has its own trumps. I'm going to go rook e8, followed by knight to e4, and claim a bit of space in the center. One eternal question to which I never know the answer is after rook b1, am I supposed to go a4 and fix the structure, which leaves me with a weak a-pawn though, or am I supposed to not do that? One day I might find out, but for now I don't have to deal with that question since b4 is not yet a threat. My pawn and my bishop control that square. Rook e1 indicates he wants to go e4, but if you go e4, that's normally trying to equalize. In such a position, white has to be very careful not to be stuck, not to get stuck with an isolated queen's pawn, which could become a bit of a target. Bishop g3, that's a legit move. Can I go knight e4? Takes, queen e4, bishop b4. Wins an exchange. He would have some compensation, but I'm still willing to do it. It's only one pawn as far as I can count, which is still one, and therefore I think it's a pretty decent position for black. Of course he's not supposed to take on e4 or forced to take on e4 at all, but in general, getting the knight there means a little bit of progress for black. Queen c2, what to do? Knight g3 is of course very safe, followed by bishop d6. It's not the most exciting way to play. Think I'll go here. Drawback of this move is it allows some access to the e5 square, either bishop e5 or knight e5. But I felt more important to fortify my guy on the e4 square. Knight e5 is very logical. How do we maneuver here? Elo Kraller, by the way, playing well. Shout out to him already. I'll go here, just increase the tension a little bit, threatening knight g3 and bishop takes e5. I don't think he's going to be too happy to play f4 in such a position, because it would make my knight on e4 eternal. Well, I'm trying to centralize in my little window here, just as I'm trying to centralize my pieces. He goes knight d3, which is a good move. And I guess it's time to start some pretend operations on the king side. Knight f4, another good move. Stop making good moves, Elo Kraller. Did you not get the memo that I don't like it much when you guys play good moves? Really, not my thing. But he's playing a lot of very solid moves. I'm still pretending that I want to do something like h4 or g5, but he can kick my queen out with f3, which I was trying to provoke because it slightly weakens the e3 pawn. And I guess it's time to go for some more opening operations on the king side. Takes. Oh, I guess it's a 3-minute game. I've been slow as usual. So the time has come to speed up just a little bit, while Elo Kraller keeps playing very sensible moves. This might be a bluff f3, queen e3. I'm not sure I can take, because my queen is a little short on squares, short off squares. But what to do? And we can see sort of the typical course of a game like this. If white doesn't generate too much activity on the queen side, then black will get somewhere on the king side, more often than not. And now he's already in some trouble. Rook h1 I would take, and rook h8. Well, queen h3 is most likely a threat, even though I haven't really seen a mate or anything. Still don't see a mate. No time to start looking for one. So I'm gonna put my pieces on menacing squares instead. Still, Elo Kraller does not budge at all. Doesn't blink even. I'm gonna win on time, but he's played a very good game. I'm more of a pawn Kraller, so this endgame seems pretty good in spite of him speeding up dramatically. I believe both the clock and the pawn situation favor me, so very tough fight already in the first game against Elo Kraller, who played a very good game, but overall I hope we all learned something about the strategy of such slightly dull looking but actually quite complicated positions. A lot of newbies here, always happy to see the noobs. Hardigan 871. It's not his rating, unfortunately. That is, I don't know what 871 is. 1996 is his rating. Maybe also his birth year. But no, the guy on the picture looks bearded, so he's probably older than that. Goes c4, knight c3, the English. And yeah, I never know what to do. Sometimes I go c5, sometimes I go e5, sometimes I go e6, d5, bishop g2. In this very move order, supposed to be a little imprecise. You're supposed to start with knight f3. The point is, if you have a knight on f3, you can go d4 now. Knight takes d4. Well, in this position, you have to take with a queen, and that costs a bit of time, which I will use to aggressively expand in the center. And here we see he already has to retreat, which is not a great sign normally. Not sure if I can use it to my advantage, but I'll certainly try. Queen b6, I was hoping that, yeah, he can't recapture on d2 with the knight so easily, because b2 was on praise. Well, if he tries stuff like that with the queen, he's losing quite a bit of time, which once again, hopefully can be used to somehow trick him. Like queen c2, there might be knight takes f2 already. So it's already some choices here. He goes queen c1, could go d3, which looks tempting. And yeah, if something looks tempting, why overthink it? Just blitz it out and see what happens. e3 seems forced to me to avoid the threat of queen takes f2. And I don't really have a follow-up in mind, but it looks like I'm so active that good things are supposed to happen to me here. Just put the pieces on good squares, rook to c8, rook to d8, and something's gonna give. Knight d4. We'll see what happens. If I counted correctly, if he chooses to sacrifice a queen, which he probably should, he only gets a rook and a minor piece, while d3 stays alive, so that should be good for me. Might have missed something even more brutal. But what you got is what you got, and Hartigan 871 already saw enough. Could have continued fighting with queen takes c8 or whatever, followed by knight e4, but it did look pretty desperate. Followed by e4, sorry. But no. What are you gonna do? I'll keep playing the noobs for a bit, because it's always my mission that every premium member should if they've never participated in Banter Blitz, should get preferential treatment, so they get one game. But I'll go back to crushing you veterans soon as well. Especially if the noobs keep giving me pawns on move number 1, Wellness Farm. What are you doing? E5? You can't pre-move that. It's not a great move after d4 or after knight f3 or after f4 in my opinion. So it's a bit of a risky pre-move. And now I'm just a clean pawn up, which is odds you normally don't want to give a grandmaster, even myself. It's a nice pawn too. Central little pawny. In general, yeah. When up a pawn, one should not go too crazy and start trying to exchange all the pieces. Just play normal chess and hope that the pawn will be a factor down the stretch, which is what I'm trying to do. Not sure how successfully. Getting the pieces out, castling, all that good stuff. I guess knight e4 is what I would play here as black, but then just takes and e3. Or takes and bishop g5. It's very hard to compensate for that extra pawn. b6, weakening that diagonal. Don't see how to punish him for that sin just yet. Which is a pity. I like punishing guys. I'll go d5, which might be a bad move. I'm not sure if I like it. It's closing this diagonal. But since he played b6, it leaves a bit of a hole on the c6 square. It looked like a sensible thing to do. Knight e5 I'm gonna take. After pawn takes, I was hoping d6 could ask some questions. Not sure how many questions it asks, frankly, but I'll still do it. Rook b8 seems forced, and then dc, queen c7, b3. But honestly, I don't think I've increased my advantage as much as I should have. Queen d6, however, gives me a rook, and a rook is too much. A rook is a rook. Sorry, Wellness Farm, this is not gonna end well. I'm afraid. Not that afraid, but I'm reasonably certain. It's also too late to think. You gotta put that thinking time in before the rooks disappear, because now it's really a steep hill to climb. No idea what that means. I've never climbed a hill in my life, but I believe that's what they say. Yeah. Apologies if it looks like I'm curbing my enthusiasm a little bit around here. It's just that I'm quite certain of victory, because I have two of those. Well, he only has one. 2, 1. Well, the others are kind of balanced. We both have one of those and one of those. So the rooks are in my favor. Not much of a key decision here. Very little I can tell you guys. I've been watching NBA Finals, but even that hasn't been that exciting because the Warriors just have been too strong so far. Not that much happening on the pop culture front. I'm following Game of Thrones, but normally there's always people that get very upset. They don't want any spoilers. Not watching this show to get your Game of Thrones spoilers. I'm watching it for the chess advice, like take all the rooks and then win on time. And of course, I fully understand. Let's play someone else. Sorry, Wellness Farm. Crusher 1995. Also seems new. Where have you guys been all this time? I do not know. While we're waiting for Crusher, I'll skim through the chat. Power Guru is a FIDE master. How can I apply for my title? I'm not sure how that stuff works. You might have to get in touch with support@chess24.com, I believe is what it is. And I'm not sure how strict we or they are if they ask for a copy of ID or whatever. But we'll get you your FIDE master title, Power Guru. Good old Najdorf. Bishop c4. That's how Mr. Fischer used to play. You don't see it much these days anymore because the brute force plan with f4, f5 doesn't seem to work all that well. And as this bishop on b3, not only does it take 2 moves to get there, but also it isn't really doing all that much. So, not that surprised this system is a bit out of fashion, but still, it is of course playable. Here, I don't really know theory. Bishop b7 might be wrong. Maybe I'm supposed to start with queen c7, but bishop b7 looks quite direct. Always an interesting question if bishop e6 could be a move here. And I don't know the answer, frankly, so we'll see. Figure it out if that happens. Maybe I'm supposed to go b4 and just take on e4, which is also more in style. In my style, fits with my pawn-grabbing antics. But it's too late. Goes e5, which also looks fairly sensible. I'm not brave enough to go knight d7 here. See all kinds of bad things happening to me. Rook f7, bishop e6. It's just too scary. So I'll go knight d5. Hope I don't get checkmated in the next couple moves and that this pawn ends up being weak. I'm not sure if, or I don't think I've played this well though. Just let's say knight takes d5 or even bishop takes d5 followed by queen g4. Looks like white is fairly active, while I lag a bit behind in development. So Crusher 1995, on his crushing ways so far. But I won't just roll over and we'll try to hang in there. Queen g4, good move. He's putting that crushing pressure. Bishop h6 is a threat, so I better be careful. Guess I gotta get out the way. But it's scary, very scary. Rook d1, rook e1, rook f4, many moves. I'll be careful. c3, a bit slower, but also sensible. He wants to go bishop c2. Add this bishop to the attack. I can't let that happen. Maybe I can let that happen. I'm thinking about weird stuff like knight d7, bishop d5, knight e5, knight takes e6 or whatnot. Unfortunately, I have a feeling it won't end well for me. So I'm going to take here, but I still strongly dislike my position. Switching to greed mode, but normally greed mode works better if you actually have some pieces developed, which I can't claim here. So I'm very scared. Scarred and scared. Rook d1. Still scared. Knight d7 is a very nice tactic, I believe, which I hope he's not gonna see. What I'm talking about is rook takes f7. Knight f5 also works, maybe, but I meant rook f7, and if... oh no, it doesn't work, I'm an idiot. I thought rook f7, knight e6, but I guess I can just move my queen away then, so that doesn't seem to work. If knight f5, I have to decide if queen takes e5 or e takes f5. I thought from a distance both might work. Well, knight f3 is a much more sensible move. And I have to figure out if knight takes e5 works. Knight e5, queen e5, bishop d4, queen g5, or bishop c5. Yeah, bishop c5 looks alright. So, I hope this works. And the Crusher cannot do do his thingy. Yeah, this was my plan. Counter pin. Queen g5, I also couldn't see a mate, but this looked better. Just neutralizing this very active bishop on d4. And hoping I emerge with an extra pawn out of all this scary stuff. Did I blunder rook f7? I might have blundered rook f7 there, which would have been kind of unpleasant. Ah no, rook f7, queen e1. I saw some backrank tricks in some other position, but apparently not here. So what's going on? Queen d4 takes rook d4, pawn up, which is the good news. Bad news is here's the d file, so things still aren't all that simple, really. Can I do better than that? Not sure. Nah, I guess not. Still not clear, at least not to me. So greedy, like probably a good chess player would just part ways with his a-pawn and start pushing. But it hurts my feelings to lose the a6 pawn. Guess I'll still do it, but I don't like it. Poor Mr. a6, he doesn't deserve this. Not sure if what I'm doing here makes any sense at all. Don't come here for the rook endgame wisdom. You'll leave bitterly disappointed. If you come here for a lot of self-centered, narcissistic rambling, then, however, you're golden. But apart from all that stuff, Crusher 1995 also playing a very good game. Doesn't play like a 1760 player. He gave me a tempo here, which hopefully will come in handy. I feel like I also gotta spend a tempo to avoid all the scary background mates. C4. Okay, now there should be a couple ways to roam. By roam, I mean R-O-M-E, not R-O-A-M. I'll go with the simplistic one. It looks wrong to go check and grab the pawn. But before I lose on time, I might as well. Once again, good rook endgame player would probably just go e3 and whatever, convert. But in general, with 4 against 2, on the king side, I should be winning here. Gotta be a bit careful if he tries king f4. But this pawn needs support, which I'm afraid it's not gonna get. My plan is to hide my king on h5 from all these nasty checks when my pawns will get the job done at their own accord. Before I forget, let me take this. Might be missing mate in 2 here, but what's gone is gone. And Freddy's gonna have to save the day. Therefore, Crusher resigns. Still, another good performance by one of our new dudes. All right, let's play against one of our old dudes who's been around for a long time. K. Lamar 74, very active in the opening clinics as well. Bit of an opening scientist, Mr. K. Lamar, who is from Romania, not from Compton. So I believe it's not the real Kendrick Lamar. Speaking of the real Kendrick Lamar, his new album is too complicated for me. Like, smart people tell me it's a masterpiece, but it's too, what's the word, introspective? I don't know. It's too complicated, this To Pimp a Butterfly thingy. I like the first one better, but I'm really not a very subtle hip-hop listener. So bishop e3 is the line I always play and normally lose. Knight c6 is the move you're hoping for, even though, even in this position, I'm capable of losing, because here you get the setup with d5, and then bishop e3 and knight to d2, which you don't get if you start by castling. So knight c6 is not the main line. It would be, knight g4 or c6. And this is supposed to be better for white, because you have a pretty quick attack going on the queen side if black doesn't go c5. Well, if you go c5, these clever dudes, they play g4. Way over my head. I'm not going to pretend like I understand what I'm doing here at all, but I guess it's directed against f5 thingies. And with white, it's sort of a prophylactic attack. I don't really want to checkmate him here, but I want to discourage him from checkmating me on the king side, and then hopefully open the queen side in 1,000 years. See how things go. But honestly, don't take my word for anything, or take my word, but don't follow my advice for anything I'm doing in these positions, because I am remarkably clueless when it comes to the King's Indian. And it's been like that my whole career. But something about it just doesn't really enter my brain. I mean, it looks pretty terrible for black all the time, but still I tend to underestimate the long-term counterplay thingies. So for example, if he goes f5 here, someone smart would immediately know if you're supposed to blitz out f3 when you have this construction to just limit his pieces, or if I'm supposed to go gf followed by h5. Both you could make a case for. Now let's play rook b8, I'll go h5. Not that scared of b5 yet, I would just grab the pawn. And rook e8 is sort of indicating that he plans to sit it out. As I said, I don't expect to checkmate him on the king side necessarily. But with this construction I've grabbed a bit of space, and there's clearly no more option of black opening the king side really. So maybe in 100 moves I can start thinking about opening the queen side with a3, b4. He can continue to prepare b5, but it's gonna be very hard to get in. And I don't even want to close the queen side. He goes b5, but you know where my heart is at. It's grabbing them pawns. And this is not a Volga gambit type of structure because he's blocked in his own bishop with e5. Therefore, I believe I'm just a healthy pawn up, which is the greatest pleasure life has to offer. Being a pawn up with no counterplay. What could possibly be better? I don't know. You're gonna say, yeah, I could think of a thing or two. But this is my show, and unfortunately my life offers no greater pleasures than pawn grabbing. But seriously, this is strategically winning. Doesn't mean I won't be able to bungle it, but I've sort of won the battle on both sides of the board. It's preparing knight b6. I could be mean. Just stop that. Yeah, why not? They're going a5, and it's very hard to give good advice here. Not my forte, anyway. Why do I keep saying not my forte? Probably just being pretentious. It's not my strength, not my strongest suit. Also, apologies for the lack of strong suits these days. It's just really, really warm in Hamburg, as I mentioned. I'll be back with my suit and tie sooner than you can. No, probably not sooner than you can spell stuff, but soon. More pawns? Gimme. Yeah, sorry Mr. Lamar, this is not a model King's Indian game yet. And therefore K. Lamar 74 resigns. Yeah, as mentioned earlier, on this line it's not supposed to be very good after bishop e3. Don't go knight c6, go c6, knight g4, ed4, all of these moves are very playable. But this position is already tricky because white is very fast on the queen side. If you go c5, g4, whilst extra space normally does count. Like I said, my understanding is sort of limited, but it's supposed to be good for white. Moving on. More noobs. Oh, I think I misclicked. You got lucky there, Team Sheldon. I didn't mean to click on you. To be perfectly frank, sometimes the list updates so quickly because of the millions of people who are incredibly excited to play a game against the real-life flesh and blood chess grandmaster. Therefore, I shouldn't diminish this. I'm glad to have some challenges here. But the list sometimes jumps quickly and I click on somebody. Didn't mean to play. It does happen. So it's Team Sheldon, which I still believe Team Sheldon is supposed to be called the Army Ants, right? So, not sure about that. I kind of gave up on Big Bang Theory, but I've watched a lot of it. Like first 7 seasons or something nutty. But I got a bit bored, and I also don't think giving more space to the new characters like Bernadette and Amy was a great move for the show. So yeah, I kind of lost interest in it. But I'm still looking for a new comedy series now that I've finished all of Rick and Morty. People tell me Silicon Valley is good, so I should probably give that a shot at one point. I've watched some very dumb stuff. I watched some episodes of New Girl, but didn't really do it for me either. I don't know this line, to be perfectly honest with you. I guess white is a little better, but I've never looked at it. So Team Sheldon has done the impossible and got me out of my mental chess book, out of my opening palace, as us Hannibal Lecter admirers would call it, and I have no clue what to do. Guess I'll put my queen here, so it can maybe go to c4, maybe support e5, maybe want to go g4 on a rainy day. But yeah, still not quite sure what I'm supposed to do here. So many options, so little time. You know what? I'll commit another grave sin and give up both of my bishops to fight against the black bishop pair. Which sounds insane. Probably was insane. But I felt like this bishop also didn't have that much to do on the chessboard. Well, here there might be some hopes to expand and restrict those bishops. Still, I love bishops just as much as the next guy. So I do not exactly have a peaceful, easy feeling about this position. So gotta decide where to put my king. Haven't decided yet. My current plan is to bring this knight over to f4. But I'm kind of being, not kind of, I am being outplayed by Team Sheldon here. Oh boy, that was bad. I was conscious of this d5 idea all the time, but not in this very position. And now, yeah, I don't like my chances. I don't want to go e5, which opens up this bishop. So I'm going to go here, but I do not like it one bit either. If he just takes and then does something, I don't know, queen e7, d takes e4. So many options. d4 looks best. Team Sheldon, 1394, is playing great chess here. Might be one of these days where I just play crappy chess. And therefore, I'm saying everybody else plays great chess. But so far, yeah. Doesn't look like whatever, 1,700 points stronger than Team Sheldon. Then again, we know Sheldon is a bright guy, so maybe he just hasn't specialized on the chess part of things so far. But he's certainly completely crushing me, which is sad. I don't like being completely crushed. I'll get my king out the way. Put it on c1, but if you got a castle by hand, it's normally not the greatest of signs. Yeah, rook d5. I'm kind of lost. Which is a bit surprising. We'll see what happens. What have I done to deserve this? Not much to hope for. If it's the circumstances I think it is. Can I go here? Doesn't look good. I gotta stick around for some more moves, but I think I'm in even bigger trouble than usual. Yup, c5. Let's see how good my guessing skills of Team Sheldon's moves are. I guess decent by now. Might even guess them quicker than he does them. No, I was wrong, bishop f5. Probably a stronger move though. Bishop g4 coming. Yeah, real big trouble. So the big question is, can I stick around for long enough? I'll fight. This is sort of the new challenge. Of course, my odds aren't very good. Okay, obviously it's pointless to try to outcalculate Sheldon, so really my only chance is to try to outlast him. But I don't know how. This might be... no, this is hopeless. c5, knight e2, queen f2, and I can... no, see, I'm starting to hallucinate. That's why I did it. Because after c5, knight e2, queen f2 is not a legal move. See what you're doing to me, Sheldon, with your activities? You're making me lose my mind. And that does threaten checkmate, which I don't want to happen to me. I think I've done admirably sticking around, not getting mated quickly. The question is still how long I can avoid that fate. And I have a feeling, unfortunately, it might not be for long enough. But I'll try. Queen d5 followed by c4, a5, a4. It's all winning. The question is, can he switch to playing more quickly? Looks like he can. That's a pity. Take here. I have a feeling the end is near. Yeah, something bad is gonna happen to my poor king. Poor king. What have you ever done to Team Sheldon to deserve all this? I don't know. Okay, this rook d7, this is rook d5, queen takes e5, which both look crushing. Or rook d8, didn't see that one, but also looks crushing. So yeah, nothing to do. Still curious what kind of pleasure Team Sheldon derives from this. It's an interesting exercise for me, though, to see how long I can survive such a game. f4 was bad. I shouldn't allow him to get to get to the h pawn so quickly. But I'll speed up and do the usual. Would be a pity to lose my hard-earned 3000 rating like this. Still in perfect mode, huh? Looks like he can do all these things instantly. Okay. Too fast. King f7 blitzed out the mate in 2. Bang. Yeah, that's a pity. Once again, I don't fully understand what kind of pleasure guys get out of this. But what are you gonna do? Excellent Perfect game by Team Sheldon. 1394 rating. I should play someone lower rated than 1394. If such things happen against the 1394, imagine what a 1494 would do to me. I'll try to play someone new. Want someone new and strong. But maybe that's asking for too much. Let's play Coconuts Deep instead. No offense, Coconuts Deep. Didn't mean to imply you're not strong. I was looking for like some super high rated dude, but probably that's a bit too ambitious. Checking in with the chat. Yeah. What do you guys want me to say? I really don't get it. Anyway, Coconuts Deep plays Bishop e7, which used to be the fancy... Oh, first of all, I didn't realize I was logged into the German part of the show. No, not the German part of the show, the German part of our website. So it says Zugzeit, which means something like time per move, and I should adjust the clocks a little bit. So Bishop e7 used to be the trendy move when guys were afraid of knight f6, cd, ed, bishop g5, and the trend might go back there, which is, I think I saw a question earlier, the big reason I haven't done part 3 of my black repertoire yet, because I have to change it. I was gonna go d5, 1 d5 or 3 d5, d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3, d5, but I'm having serious opening problems there, so I'm thinking I might have to switch to the Nimzo, but I don't really know the Nimzo. Anyway, all of this is a different story. Bishop e7 obviously doesn't allow bishop g5, but does allow the cd, ed, bishop f4 system, where fashion is back and forth. c6 is not such a popular move here. Bishop f5 is quite common, very interesting line. While often they play castles, followed by c5. c6 is of course possible, but now I can go bishop d3, stopping him from going bishop to f5, which we've seen in an earlier game is always a big topic in such a position. And I would guess this is a little more pleasant for white. I'm out of book though. Queen c2 might not be the most precise, but I sort of like it because it doesn't allow knight h5. And it's a half waiting move to see how he wants to arrange his pieces. Now yeah, if he keeps playing all the normal moves, funnily enough, I won't have time to explain it in this blitz game, but after knight f8, any move here, long castles, short castles, I'll go long castles just for illustrative reasons. I'm not sure if that's a word. Anyway, and these lines, instead of long castles with the bishop on g5, bishop back to f4 is actually a main theoretical move. So in a way, black is a tempo down to a major line by choosing the move order he chose. That doesn't mean white is winning or anything. I'm just saying the slow setup with c6 and so on sort of vindicates white's play, and it's normally more challenging to go for an early c5. Also not sure about bishop e5, but I couldn't resist posing the dumb threat of bishop f6 followed by bishop h7. We'll see how it goes. He goes g6. Typical plan in these positions is knight g7 followed by bishop f5. I'd be tempted to go h4. I think I'll play a useful waiting move and just see what setup he chooses. If he goes knight g7, then I want to go g4 to stop bishop to f5. Well, yeah, if he had done something else, I would have thought about h4, h5 ideas as well. So yeah, all in all, pretty typical stuff for this line. But I do believe that I have a good version because, yeah, didn't allow him any counterplay or aggression just yet. Bishop e6. Where do I go? Many sensible options. Being my positional boring self, I'm even tempted to go knight a4 and knight c5, which is not the most typical plan, admittedly, if you put your king on the queen side. But it feels like it makes some sense now, especially that his knight doesn't have access to the e6 square anymore. Probably a more aggressive player would have done something like knight e2, knight f4, rook g1, or knight g5. There's many plausible moves. I thought this one might make some sense. Goes knight d7, which also makes a lot of sense, not allowing me to get to my sweet spot. I want to keep that bishop, but yeah, I have to admit, knight f4 does look a little silly. And I sort of underestimated knight d7, even though it's a fairly obvious move. So, coconut's deep, which means Coconut Thief is doing pretty well so far as well. b5 is asking me to go here. Can I do that? I think I can. Because yeah, it's a change of structure, which in general I guess favors black a bit. Takes followed by bishop d7 and knight e6. But at least I get the d4 square as a base for operations. Yeah, let's say bishop d7, knight d4, knight e6. Not sure how much I've achieved, frankly. Mr. Coconut Thief. Doing well. Queen a5 is also logical. I gotta put my knight here. The small issue I have with going knight d4 is I'm sort of pushing him towards the right plan, which is bishop d7 followed by knight e6. And I would have liked to not allow that so quickly. But now I might gain a bit of space, a bit of time. Bishop d7, maybe I can go f4, knight e6, f5, stuff like that. Knight e6 takes an f5. So it might be time to think about some microaggression, which I'm more of a passive-aggressive player. But if you're forcing me to push my pawns, I shall do it. And rook c8 feels less to the point because my f-pawn is coming anyway. Therefore, yeah, I think now I'm in very good shape because his attack on the queen side is very fast. You can go b4, but I have f5 or even the, once again, passive-aggressive rook c1 just defending c5, and doesn't look like his attack is moving. So now I should be in decent shape. Goes f5, but that's extinguishing the fire with gasoline, as I like to say. Expression which I guess I made up. I can take things. Not sure which order to do this in. Maybe I should have done it the other way around, but even this version, the g-pawn as a defender to His Majesty has disappeared, and that should make for a pretty quick finale. I wish I could spot like a mate in 3, things like that. But I tend to do it very non-dramatically. Is that English at all? Ah, no. But I'm threatening a check here or here. So it's very hard to stop both. And this king got caught in a trap. 2980. My poor rating. Team Sheldon spoiled it all. But yeah. That's what also makes it tricky to maintain a high rating. Sometimes things happen. I used to say I don't care at all about online ratings, and in general I really don't. But once you get that 3000, it's like a Gollum-esque effect. It's like, must stay above 3000, my precious. So now I can be free for a while again. free from the curse of the rating, till this guy Frodo gives me another taste. Very lame Lord of the Rings references. He got this dude, Kurgan 021, goes 1 e4. I haven't played the Caro-Kann much recently, but it's a system I've always had some sympathy for. 2 d3 I've never really looked at because I'm lazy and there's enough things to do in the critical lines like 2 d4 or knight c3 followed by knight f3, but it has some points of his own as far as I know, and you gotta pay some attention. The move d4 here I always thought was kind of interesting. Now I really don't know what to do anymore. Knight f6 followed by castles looks perfectly natural. Not sure if you could be more ambitious and go knight e7 to plan a quick f5 or even f5 immediately. But I'll keep it simple. Bring the pieces out. This knight maneuver to g6 tends to be typical. a5 just to not allow b4. I'm not sure if it's necessary, but also can't be too wrong. So yeah, standard stuff. White could go something like b3, a3, rook b1, b4, or he could, at pretty much every juncture, consider taking on d5 followed by c4. If I go knight f8 now, which I think I will, he can also consider opening the center with d4, since at this point in time, my pieces might not be too well placed to do battle. h4, yeah, it's sort of discouraging me from getting my knight to g6 because it could get kicked with h5. But it also makes it harder for white to control the, what do we call that square? The g4 square. Therefore, mixed blessing. I'm not sure what to do. I'll go h6 just because knight g6 I wasn't sure what happens after h5. Knight takes h5, then something. Actually, probably nothing happened. Probably I can just do that. Do it now. Not sure. Still have an uneasy feeling about h5, but there seems to be nothing. Knight h5, if knight e5, rook e5. And yeah, at least for a half move, I'm a piece up, which I can then probably give back under adventurous circumstances. Still a cute line. h5, knight takes h5, knight takes e5, and if rook takes e5, d4. It looks like I can't keep everything. But it doesn't really work because after h5, knight h5, knight e5, I also have knight e5, queen h5, knight d3, at the very least picking up a pawn. So it's all kind of playable, and therefore Kurgan plays a much more sensible move. Queen to c2 just continues to develop, and I will follow suit, bring some pieces out, maybe queen d7, bishop h3. Black is fine, but no more than that. Now he goes for the b3 plan. Could maybe have impeded that by going a5, a4 last move, but I felt like must develop some pieces. Now he goes d4. Isn't this bad timing? Doesn't feel like it should work here. Any options, I'll go for the caveman-esque one as usual. Take here and take here again. Doesn't look like f3 works because of bishop takes c3. Therefore I can't see anything better than bishop e4. But then after d e4, he's opened the position for my bishops and is also hard to take on e4 with either piece. Rook e4 is bishop f5 pinning. And queen e4, that was bishop takes c3. So it looks like I managed to get a free pawn, which I might have touched on that topic, is something which I enjoy greatly. Yeah, now the position is more or less winning for me. I have an extra pawn and better pieces. So things didn't go well for Kurgan 021. Still, of course, this advantage has yet to be converted. Hard to give good advice. He probably has to try c4. No matter if it's good, bad or ugly, just to free himself from this predicament over here. I have many tempting choices, bishop b2 and a3, for example. ba is legal, but unless I'm blundering here, no, I'm not. Then rook a4 makes his life even harder because now there's no longer c4 or anything. And f3, I thought I can just take. Am I missing something? No, because e5 is protected. And yeah, the pawn count and the positional count keeps adding up in my favor. So Kurgan 021 is in real big trouble. And he resigns. Yeah, that position was beyond repair. Thanks for the game, Kurgan 021. Who else is here? A lot of new faces. Maybe it's a different time. Normally I play later in the evening. I got the 4 p.m. crowd today. And Nix 2002. Watch your TH, Jan. Oh, and watch what screen you're switching to. Nix 2002 and forever is in the building. Is that your birth year? I'm very scared of people that are born after 2000. I'm even scared that some of them already know how to speak. Like, to my mind, they should all be infants, but that's no longer the case. And some of them can probably crush me at chess already, which really feels wrong. Long story short, I am getting old. Born in 79, which feels like yesterday. It's not. Anyway, this gambit is one I've seen plenty on this show. It's very popular on the internet. Personally, I don't think of it very highly. I think it's basically a free pawn in the center, and black just does not get enough compensation for it. But clearly, most of the internet has a different opinion. Bishop f5, however, is ramming it in even more, because I can go e4 with tempo, if I'm not mistaken. When I manage to stabilize my extra central pawn. Point is knight e4, knight e4, bishop e4, this queen a4 check, picking up the piece. So he has to go away. And now I just develop and enjoy this guy. Theory, quote unquote theory, is castles instead of bishop f5. When, as I said, I'm not a big fan of black's position, but it's of course a better choice than what we got here. Even though in all my amazing arrogance and not paying attentionness, I might already have bungled it, because I think I've blundered this pawn. Couldn't you go knight takes e4, bishop e4, bishop e4? I guess I'm still slightly better, but that wasn't part of the plan at all. I sort of played b4 without paying any attention, which normally is a very bad idea. Now I gave him some compensation. Bishop h5, I have to go to c2. It all became a little more clumsy than I would like it to be. That's what I get for constantly disrespecting this opening. People will just crush me in it until I start showing it some respect. That's never gonna happen. Still, I've managed to quite seriously misplay this, so I gotta be careful now. Don't get me wrong, I'm still like my extra pawn, but I've really given him much more compensation than I should have by going for this b4, which was totally ridiculous. And now it's hard to develop my pieces. Okay, so enough whining. Let's make some move. Hard to make a move. What have I done to my poor position? I'll go and get myself some more weaknesses. Who needs to develop pieces anyway? It's such an 80s concept. Nix 2002 wasn't even born when people were talking about this piece development thingy. He doesn't care. But seriously, I didn't know what to do, so I thought I should try to grab some space here. I'm still scared about bishop h5 when I have to go queen c2 and then knight c4. But I couldn't come up with anything better. I guess I would have to take that. It goes queen d6, but now I should have time for this, right? Oh, still bishop h5. Why don't I pay attention? Knight b5 was very strong. Guess it still is very strong, but I gave him one more chance for bishop h5. Yeah, this looks like it's problems now, because after queen b4, amongst other things, I can go knight d4 followed by bishop a3 or bishop a3 immediately, which is creating problems. Once again, I was celebrating myself, but then I saw that after queen a5, position is still not clear, because this dude is hanging, but this has to be good for me, somehow. But yeah, not playing this game as well as I would have liked to play it, to be perfectly frank with you guys. That's what it's all about. Yeah, rook e8 is probably a decent move. I saw I was winning an exchange here, but if he takes on c4 and then on e4 with some piece, it does have some compensation. So yeah, this game has been a lot of back and forth and not the iron execution that you would have liked after his early inaccuracy with bishop f5. Still a mess, not sure. Should be better because of my extra exchange and active forces, but he got a pawn and maybe some play. I can't quite see his play though, so probably I'm doing all right. I should stop the blundering at some point. Somehow I'm attracted to this move, but I'm not sure if that stops the blundering or increases the blundering. It looked cute to block the e-file and then go d6, but I really didn't think it all the way through. For example, I didn't think about this move. Guess I'll still go here. Takes knight d6, bishop d6, rook e2, rook a7. Yeah, this game is very random. Like, it feels like whoever blunders last is gonna lose. I'll get out the way just to stop this knight takes d6 action. But it's still a mess. Knight c3 or knight d2. Many options. b5. Still unclear. Kind of happy to see this knight move. Not the movie. I wasn't happy to see knight moves, but because it frees the way for Dario the d-pawn. But once again, it's mainly Blunderville here, so anything can happen. Knight b3, rook b1, bishop b1, rook b1, with a mess. It is all a mess. Knight takes that, and yeah, now I was once again counting on Dario, but who knows if he's quick enough to bring home the bacon. Run, Dario. I'm sorry if I keep changing his name. We used to call him Delroy in an earlier show, but I feel like he has some personality issues, so he doesn't mind having a different name once in a while. And yeah, this I was hoping would be the straw that broke Nick's back, because bishop takes d3, I have d7. But he keeps being resourceful, came up with this little move. What can I do? h3, bishop d3, d7, check, king h2. Yeah, it looks good enough. Very tactical game where I really haven't seen much, to be honest with you. Nick's a very tricky guy, but I believe I'm still on top because of the d-pawn. He has to take d7, rook a8, when I have to figure out if I have anything better than d8 queen. d8 queen will leave me an exchange up, but still work to do. Well, I'm thinking if there's some rook a7 or some cute trick. I can certainly do it once just to be annoying. Yeah, no progress to be made there, no? Nope. Don't see it. If rook c7 and bishop f5 doesn't help, so I gotta keep it simple. Gotta trap this knight. Also not so easy. Nope, can't cheat the position. Gotta win it straight up with the extra exchange, which isn't easy. Of course, there is the plan B factor working in my favor if I manage to speed up and make legal moves, which might be a challenge, both of those, but I'll certainly try. Okay, really time to speed up a little. Huh, wrong square. Panic. I blundered my rook there for half move, which wasn't intended. Well, wasn't unintended either. But yeah, good game by Nix 2002. Came down to the wire. A lot of fresh faces here. Glad to see those. Doesn't give me a lot of time for the old faces. But there's gonna be more Banter Blitz. And tomorrow we have a treat for all of you guys. We have Chess 24s. Nah, it's not just Chess 24s. Chesses. Super Grandmaster Peter Svidler is gonna play Banter Blitz for 3 hours. He's in Hamburg. Him and me will do a bit of commentary on the Paris stop of the Grand Chess Tour, which is going to be a super strong Rapid and Blitz tournament. And of course, I'm very grateful that we have super strong Svidler here to explain to me and to you guys what's going on there. And since he's in a day early and he said, nah, Hamburg, I know there's not a lot of sightseeing done, been there plenty, let's do a Banter Blitz instead. So tomorrow, 3 p.m. Central European time, or whatever time we get. Check out the one and only Peter Svidler playing Banter Blitz. Here I haven't commented much on the opening. It's a theoretical line of the Budapest Gambit, slightly better for white because of his extra bishop. And I like bishops. So yeah, it's a line I played as a very young man when I was like 12, 13. But even then I had an uneasy feeling about these positions I was getting. Don't really know theory. I'm not sure if Queen c3 is the correct move to challenge the setup, but I just thought, you know what, 2 bishops, how bad can it be? I tried to open the position to give my bishop dudes some space. And of course, all the bishop talk will immediately stop once I see a chance to grab an exchange. Then, you know what? 0 loyalty to my bishops. You give me a rook. Go away, bishops. No one needs you. You can only move diagonally. You don't get far in life with all this diagonal moving. You want to move straight up. Back and forth. Not sure that made any sense, but I believe my point is that rooks are better than bishops. Something that you guys probably already knew. Let's put these rooks to hopefully good use, because rooks, another thing people say about them is they need open files. So you have an open file rook. Anything you want to do with it, or are you just happy to be here? I don't know how these things work. Probably not rook d6, allowing knight e4. That much I can tell. So I'll go here instead. Once again, not exactly stellar conversion after I got this winning position. But the good thing with winning positions is you have a bit of margin for error. Like, not as much margin as I like to take, but still some margin. It's a margin call. Is Margin Call the movie I like? It's one movie I like on this financial crisis, and I always mix them all up. Margin Call, Boiler Room. Which one is the one with Kevin Spacey? Can't remember. I think margin call was the one I thought was great, but I might be wrong. Let me look that up. I don't feel like confirming my chess output, but my movie recommendations, I should be precise. Yeah, Margin Call, that's the one. It's a good movie. Check it out. And looks like the end is near here because the rook finally found something to do on the open file, which is attacking Mr. Bishop and Mr. Pawny Pawn. So things are going downhill quickly. I'm not a big Tropic Thunder guy. Has some funny moments, but it's one of those, can't really decide if it wants to be persiflage or, yeah, like a half-realistic war movie part. Like, I understand it's supposed to be funny, but it felt like it wasn't really thought out. Tom Cruise part was alright, but feels a bit overhyped. So no, not a big Tropic Thunder dude. MKHA resigned here because his queen is gone. Thanks for the game, MKHA. Who is next? Oh, Feedermaster, Biotics Jack. Biotics Jack. I don't know which one it is, but he's got that fancy title. Did I move the screen again? Yep. Here we are. 3-minute game. Gotta hurry up in the 3-minute game, so I'll keep the banter to a minimum. Good old Slav. Nowadays I'm very stuck in my ways and play this e3, bishop d3. Probably more often than I should be. Most strong players prefer queen to c2 nowadays. But after bishop e7, I think white is supposed to be better. I'm not sure if b3 is the most challenging. e4 certainly has a lot to be said for it as well. c5, interesting. This structure, well, I like playing against the isolated pawn, so I won't complain too much. Of course, it's all playable, but I like the development so far. He goes b6, which is very sensible, not allowing me to have play against that IQP for free. And let's switch to some hanging pawns situation, which is one of the tougher positions to understand, for me at least, which you can see by my very first move, queen c2, probably wasn't ideal. It's very tricky if these pawns are good or bad or ugly. I'm not sure I'm exploiting them the way they should be exploited, frankly. Wish I could calculate things like e4, but I can't. So I have to do something else. Can't really calculate this either. What am I doing? Playing badly, that is what I'm doing. Yeah, after g6, there's no real follow-up to all this nonsense. Nah, I've mishandled this position. I've done very bad things to it that it did not deserve. My pawn was bishop g7, some knight e4 trick, but I'm not so sure if that worked at all either. However, hang on. d5, rook d5. He's very lucky that this doesn't lose on the spot. Doesn't it? I can't think. Sickening. But no, I can't spot it. So it doesn't lose on the spot, at least not on my spot. Well, now after bishop g7, black is sort of back in business. I'll take on c5, but it's not exciting. Sure, I missed something easy there, but yeah, I'm struggling to calculate lines today. Yeah, now black has compensation in a couple of ways, but as long as I can avoid getting checkmated, I'm still kind of doing alright. Pawn is a pawn and all that stuff. The good thing is, if he removes the defender of e1, he creates a luft for me at the same time. So I'm very keen on exchanging these bishops. Oh, did I blunder again? Oh boy. I must keep the blundering to a little slower extent. I think nothing too bad has happened, because rook e1, knight f1, bishop e2, I have a bit of a countermate. But I'd like to claim this is all part of the master plan. It is not. And yeah, I'm very, very blundery today. Struggling to not get checkmated here. Or not lose a piece. I think the checkmating part is more unlikely. But not so smooth. Even the pronunciation is suffering. Then again, there's always the flagging skills. If everything else goes wrong, the flagging skills are there to fall back on. And the cheapo mates are also there. So, not all hope is lost. Just yet. I'm taking the slow way, because I don't want any knight d5 check, which doesn't change anything. But it's very hard to parry the threat of rook f8 mate. Yeah, an uneasy game, very back and forth, where I almost blundered a piece a couple times. And in the end, yeah, having played more quickly was really the main factor. But it's a factor, especially in these 3-minute games, while talking nonsense. Gotta speed up. Good game by Biotics check. What time is it? Probably 2 more. Time for 2 more. Let's play Kalashnikov, another very strong player, 2400. I have the black pieces, and it looks like we've never faced off either. All these bishop f4s everywhere. It's a disease. In combination with knight f3, I've never seen it. Does this make any sense? Hang on, are you blundering pieces, Kalashnikov? And you think, because I'm so high rated, I can get away with it? Not with me. If I spot things to take, I'll take them. This looks like a useful little trick, because bishop e5, queen a5 check. I think I'm picking up a bishop. So yeah, that would be a quick way to be material up against such a strong player. Unless there is some devious trick here, but it doesn't look like Kalashnikov resigns. So yeah, that was a bit of a miniature. No, knight f3, I believe, is a mistake. On general grounds, e3 or d5, or even c3. But yeah, got lucky there that I spotted this little trick. Kalashnikov says, brilliant trick, he's a good sport. Thanks, Kalashnikov. Alright. Next game. Where you at, noobs? What's going on here? Things broken? I don't know. Except this guy. Another super strong player. Joe? Sorry for mispronouncing. These super strong guys, they like 3-minute games, because they know you have to talk shit. So, oh, I see I'm cursing already. What's going on here? Anyway, same old story. Blah, 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 Morochi. Why is it a little better because of the space? Blah, blah, blah. Knight c6, bishop e3, mainline. I prefer this. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'm getting sick of it myself. I'm going to have to study some new openings for next show. Bishop e6 is the move everybody plays online. Well, the theory books only mention knight to d7. Can't trust those books. I'm making random moves. I'm hoping he blunders his queen with queen b6, queen b2, rook b1. But I have a feeling it's a bit unlikely. What's this plan? He wants king h7? I want this. Alright, whatever. I'm worried about nothing. In general, this setup I've concluded now is sort of a decent setup to stabilize things. I really lack any explaining prowess today. ED or CD is also always a tricky question in these positions, but I felt in this position going CD make more sense. Here you want to go f4, but you don't necessarily want to allow a knight to jump to g4, hence my move knight e3. Preparing f4, looks like he has to go queen d8, f4, knight d7. He doesn't. It's odd. I like grabbing things, as we all know, and if I can grab a whole knight, I'm all for it. I'm missing something? No, don't think so. Looks like all these super high rated players aren't very careful with their minor pieces against me today. And therefore, G-Joe resigned because the knight doesn't have a square. Yeah, I was talking about queen d8 looked forced, but then f4, knight d7, bishop f3. And white is better. He's better in these structures, but of course, the game continues. Alright, last game for today. Let's play another newcomer whom I have not yet played, Mr. Nonin. Welcome to Chess24. Nonin, and by welcome I mean let's give you a good crushing. Of course, he's 100 points, higher rated than Team Sheldon. In general, I tend to be a favorite, and I'm aware of that, but I like to give everybody a chance to play, and sometimes these games are more instructive than playing against the strong players, where I'm offending Nonin, I don't mean that, but if I'm playing against all the highest rated dudes, because yeah, it gives me a little more time to explain and more about strategy. Blah blah blah. What do I know? I just try to play as many of you guys as possible. I played the semi-Slav. He plays queen c2, which is a rare move in this position. e3, bishop g5, and g3, the main moves. And normally, against all the rare moves, you can go ahead and grab that pawn now, when black is ready to defend it by going b5. And it tends to be hard for white to get enough compensation here. The computer normally does not share this opinion and is very excited about white's chances, but it's one of the rare cases where I have to disagree with computer evaluations. If you just make the quote-unquote normal moves here for black, bishop b7, a6, knight b7, and whatnot, then you tend to be in good shape. However, bishop d2, I already have to start thinking a bit. I've never analyzed this particular position, a, b, c, b, knight b5, bishop d2, knight d2. Looks like black should be fine, but it's certainly interesting. So we'll see how it goes. A, b, I can also go bishop c3, but in general I dislike giving up that bishop if I don't have to do it. Because I like my bishops. I treat my bishops like friends. Unless I can trade them for a rook, then they're dead to me. But in general, I like you guys, and it breaks my heart when I have to play a move like bishop takes c3, giving this dude up. Actually, this position is not so clear. I'm not sure if I've done something wrong, or if it's just the position after bc, cb, knight g5. Looked like white had some play. Bishop takes c3, I'm surprised by, because now he doesn't have knight g5, and my structure on the queen side is more flexible, so this should be good for me. But bc, cb, knight g5, I'm not sure what's going on. Yep, let's develop some pieces peacefully. And I could do more aggressive things like knight to f4, which looks fine as well. Or castles even. As long as there's no knight g5, there's nothing wrong with it. Do I go here? Yeah, I guess I should. Let this bishop breathe. Yeah, then again, it allowed bishop b4. Now I'm already regretting my decision. Bishop d1 is also legal, but it scares me less. Because now I can stop bishop b4 again. And exchanging off that horsey is gonna come at a high price. I've told you, Mr. Bishop, you're my friend, but if I can exchange you for a rook, all bets are off. I've been very outspoken about this, so I don't want to hear any complaints after my next move. Even though I think some people would complain about bishop f1. Why not knight c6 and keep all these strong pieces instead of just being caveman-esque materialistic? Whatever, you guys understand what I'm trying to say. If in doubt, grab material. It's not the sexiest style of chess, but you know, it's a rule I like following. Nolan is also following it, but I'm not sure. He might enjoy it less than me this time around, because now, with the pressure off my position, I can start working on converting that extra exchange. Queen c8 is a little bit of a weird move, but I want to go rook a6, get rid of his only active piece, take it from there. He should go d5, only chance. When I have to think a little bit, probably take on d5, and we'll see how it goes. I managed to miss quite a bit of bishop b4 in this game already. Guess I'll still stick to my plan of occupying the A file. But I've made this a lot more complicated than it had to be. I might even have gotten myself in trouble. Yeah, rook c7, promise queen a8, which was my plan. Then there is queen f4, which is surprisingly annoying. But no way out, Puff Daddy and the family. So I have to go for this. I'd hope that after queen f4 I haven't screwed up totally yet. f3 gives me a very welcome breather. Still, this is another of these don't repeat this at home kids situations where I've mentally chalked up a point long before I should have. And now I have to work for it again. Queen d5, queen f4, f something, f5, queen g5. It's all scary. Let's exchange rooks. Your rook scares me. You're scaring me. Not a very smooth last round effort, so to say. But in the end, Team Mordor shall prevail because of the extra rooks. And that's why I like grabbing stuff, even though things can go horribly wrong. Once the situation quiets down, the extra material tends to have its say. Which, yeah, I'm not sure how great a rule of thumb that is. I'm basically saying, I got lucky that I now am winning. b4 was pretty decent as well, but I wanted Caesar to have an impact on this game. Now Brian can follow through. Team spirit. And now Caesar becomes Brian. That's all very confusing. And that's not the end of Brian's journey, because once he enters B1, he's not only has to have a name change, but a sex change as well. So yeah, he's led quite a life, that Caesar, Brian of Tar on B1. But Nonin does resign his game. And that brings us to the end of today's show. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy it, tell a friend, leave a comment, whatever. Become a Chess24 premium member, spread the word, come back tomorrow for a much stronger player than me, Peter Svidler. In case you're watching this on YouTube, you probably missed it, so I should give a date. Come back on June the 8th at 3 p.m. I'll also be back to keep crushing you all, and see you soon. Later.